Since 1969, Dover International Speedway has been a regular part of the NASCAR schedule. With its 24 degrees of banking in the corners and its on-edge racing style, it's always been difficult to conquer the Monster Mile. Tonight, the top drivers in the Precision Racing League look to do just that on the concrete banking. The question is, who will take the checker flag home tonight, or who will end up being collected by Miles the Monster? We're about to find out here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the virtual Dover International Speedway in Dover, Delaware, for the fourth race of the Precision Racing League Cup Series season. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside of the booth tonight is Christian Challenger. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beard. Now, Christian, with the increased levels of downforce in 2019, the speeds at this concrete speedway have been setting track records, not just in real life, but on iRacing. What can you tell us about this very quick, very fast facility?
It's a very, very bumpy and very, very fast with the downforce 1 mile circuit. We see speeds around about 165 average per lap, given about 22-second lap times, which is extremely fast. See a lot of incidents coming off of turn 2 and 4 because of that. The car's really difficult to come off the corner, a lot of change in banking there. Tonight we're going to be doing 110 laps or 1 hour, and the track temperature is about 107, so a little bit colder than normal, but it should still be pretty hot and greasy.
Yes, indeed, it's going to be an interesting race. But first things first, let's take a look at our GSRC lap guide, find out the best way to get around this tough circuit.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Global SimRacing Channel. I'm Brian Yazik. This is Dover International Speedway and this is the GSRC Chevrolet SS. So, without further ado, here we go. Coming out of turn 4 for your hot lap. Get it right up close to that wall. Don't touch it though. Nullify your lap. Down into the very steep bankings of Dover. Letting it float to the bottom. Picking up the gas about halfway. And then finally back out to full throttle as you exit the corner. Turn 3 going to be right about the same. Looking to find that bottom. Let the car set. Roll in. Half on the throttle. 3/4. And then finally full throttle as you come rocketing out of the corner there. As the run progresses, you might see guys kind of take a different arcing line through here. So 1 and 2, just kind of letting it float just a hair up in there into the middle. Back down, back onto the gas, and out of the corner. Going into turn 3, same situation. Let it float up here in the middle. Really kind of actually helps save tire. Back down to the bottom, out of turn 4, and that's going to complete your track guide around the Dover International Speedway. I'm Brian Yazik. Enjoy the show.
Welcome back, everyone, from the GSRC lap guide as everybody crashes at the end of practice as they get ready for qualifying for tonight's PRL Cup Series event. Let's take a look at the point standings. Entering tonight, it's been the Bradley Holly Domination Fest. He's won the first 3 races on the campaign and has a 32-point lead already in the standings. Eric Roberts comes in tonight second with Charles Sumner, Adam Zemke, and Paul M. Johnson rounding out the top 5 positions. As you can see, that top 5 separated by 34 total points in the standings. Just a couple points from second to 5th. The team standings sees Wonderback Racing with their full Fun Center and Ramrod teams on top of the standings so far, with Hard Knocks South, Team 24/7, and Hard Knocks West rounding out the top 5. Redline Racing, Team 0, Racing, JRS Motorsports, and Hard Knocks North round out the drivers and their respective teams that are entered in the standings entering tonight's race here at Dover. 244 points so far for Wonderback Fun Center entering this evening. They'll look to add more as the drivers get ready here for qualifying. Let's take a look at your weather conditions at the moment. Currently a bit up and down, partly cloudy skies with 81 degrees Fahrenheit, 110 degrees Fahrenheit is the track temp for qualifying. Drivers will have just under 4 minutes to go on the timer to set their fastest times on the circuit. And maybe 49%, very little wind here. But Christian, we were talking about this before today's event. Track position going to be very crucial throughout this 110 lap event.
Yeah, definitely. We were just talking about the high downforce package and how it's kind of made passing even harder here than it's always been. It's always a difficult track to pass on. just because of the confines coming off of the corners and how it kind of narrows up. It's always difficult to get runs, but with this new high downforce package, there's also a lot more aero push involved, and it can make it really, really difficult staying close to people. So the opportunities in the past that you would have to maybe get a run and execute a pass are not there as much. So it's more about holding the track position than it is gaining it on the racetrack. So I expect we'll see a lot when it comes to strategy tonight. Maybe 2 tires, 4 tires, maybe even staying out with no tires and just trying to hold on.
Absolutely, and that brings up a key point to mention with the trouble that could happen here at the Monster Mile, a self-cleaning racetrack. Want to bring up the race details here tonight, Christian. As mentioned, it's the 4th race of the season. 110 laps is the distance, as you mentioned, with the fixed setups. But only 17 points is that incident cap. Max fuel allowed. The fuel mileage can go to up to about 70 laps or so at the very top window at the very most. If you save a little bit, it's going to be very crucial. Don't forget, there's a 1-hour timer as well for this series, and there's the potential of a green-white checkered, Christian.
Yeah, we've seen in this series in the past that if there is a decent number of cautions, the races will time out. So I think it's reasonable to say tonight we do expect cautions, especially with the difficulty in passing. It's going to make the restarts extremely aggressive because everybody's going to know that that's the biggest chance they're going to have to make any spots up. And 17 incident points, it doesn't sound like it's too small a number, but when you consider how quickly things can go bad here, they can add up very quickly.
Let's take a look at Bradley Hawley. He has so far been the most dominant driver throughout the season. He's looking to set a time in qualifying. He was the fastest driver in practice by a couple 1,000ths of a second over Rachel Hunt. This time at 22.6. That puts him at the top of the board, the first driver to break into that bracket. And this continues his strong season so far.
That was a really nice lap there for him. And in the practice, both Bradley and Rachel were quite substantially clear of the rest of the field, actually. So I'm not too surprised to see him up there. Definitely not, given that he's won every race so far this season. But still a good way to start the night. And yeah, again, same as all previous weeks, doing exactly what he needs to do.
Especially since he's led more than 225 plus laps on the campaign. But you're seeing these drivers work their way around here. What's your preferred line to try and keep up the momentum and speed and try and essentially take advantage of that pace if you can?
Well, in the past, I've always liked to run the very bottom of this racetrack, and I tend to find that makes my one-lap speed perhaps not all that great, but it does give me a little bit of an advantage on the long run because I'm not diamonding the corner as much and taking a lot out of the tires like that. But with this new package, I feel like really it kind of comes more about just running where the other guy ahead of you isn't. So if he's on the bottom, then you got to try and kind of make the top or the middle work, or at least cross him over so you get some clean air on the nose.
Qualifying is wrapped up. Let's look at your starting lineup as Bradley Hawley will start on the pole once more for tonight's running of the Dover 110. You've seen it moments ago. Paul Williams II jumped up to second in qualifying with a 22.709 to start on the outside of the front row. Jose Tellez starts in third tonight with Rob Haynes in fourth position, looking to attack early. Dan McLaren starts in P5 with Colton Lane rounding out the top six. Rachel Hunt, strong in practice, will start though in traffic in seventh with Alan Dobbs in eighth. Rounding out the top 10 starting positions, Pat Harvey alongside Paul M. Johnson here, Christian.
There we go, Eric Robertson, Danny Cervantes, just missing out on that top 10 spot, but still a good start in 11th and 12th. Then Robert Beasler Jr. and Mike Caterino, hopefully gonna have a better night tonight than he did at the Roval, starting 14th. Mitchell Clark and Adam Zemke kind of a little bit further back than we normally see him in 15th and 16th. And then Mike Richter, Brandon Walter, 17th and 18th, and Frank Peacock and John LaBath, 19th and 20th.
Running the drivers that put in qualifying lap 21st was Baron Hilton, as he was supposed to be starting from the rear of the grid. We'll see if there's ramifications from that. That's from incident points. Over a 3-race span, he'll start on side Trevor Wright. Robert Engelman starts 23rd. David Deckman 24th. With Charles Sumner rounding out the qualifiers. Damaris Hickenbottom, Brendan Chatley, Nick Pruitt did not record qualifying times. 28 drivers are all set to go for tonight's Cup racing action in Precision Racing League. As mentioned, high banking, 24 degrees in the corners. Concrete surface, though, here, which is, of course, much more different feeling. It's especially compared to the asphalt for these cars in the high speeds.
Yeah, it's very, very bumpy, and the track's very abrasive as well. We normally see the highest tire wear here out of any circuit that we go to with these cars, so it's definitely something to keep an eye on. With the race being only 110 laps, it's pretty clearly a one-stopper if it does go green, but it still does put a bit of a premium on tire management.
Indeed, it can absolutely challenge the best of the drivers as those drivers make their way onto the racetrack for tonight's racing. Just one pace lap to get going here at Dover. Again, Holly will bring them to the green flag. Who do you have an eye on here as we are about to get underway here at Dover?
Well, I think Holly's definitely the pick for the win. A couple of guys, as I mentioned in the grid, starting a little bit further back, Mitchell Clark, Adam Zemke, and also seeing that Charles Sumner's starting right at the back, and he was actually pretty fast in practice, so it'd be interesting to see if he can move his way up.
28 drivers all set to go here at Dover as they work their way under the second pedestrian bridge. Since 1969, NASCAR Cup Series racing has had events here at least 2 times a year. But tonight, the PRL Cup Series is all set to go. Coming down to the front stretch, Holly picks up the paces, will be the control car in the blue Ford Mustang on the bottom side. On the top side, in the Integrity Digital Chevrolet Camaro, it's Paul Williams II. Green flags up. We're underway from Dover. And tons of wheel spin already as they make their way to turn 1.
Managed to keep it clean though, which is good. We'll just have to see if they come off for 2 and keep that going.
Top 3 already able to get single file. Haynes was able to get to 3rd position after a bad start from Tellez. Already 3 wide for position. Lane forced to the middle line by Rachel Hunt. Hunt off to a fantastic start and a fight for 5th position as the first lap led by Bradley Hawley. Top 5 now single file, but a great start for both Haynes as well as Hunt.
Yeah, and this is really the thing that we were saying, that it's so hard to pass late in the run that you have to be aggressive here, and that's maybe what's going to bring us some yellows late in the race, but really good job by everybody to keep it clean. We had a little bit of a 3 wide on the start, but they got it all sorted out before they got to 1.
Fastest lap that time by going to Bradley Hawley at 22.8. Just been topped, though, by Dan McLaren. But the battle on screen, Paul Williams II forced up to the top side. Haynes riding the bottom side, takes away the spot, moved him up to 2nd already in just a couple laps of a span. McLaren, though, now wants to try and take advantage of the 7.
I think Williams there, he kind of was giving the spot to Rob and just killed all his momentum, and now he's lost another position. And it looks like he's going to be under threat again.
He does have a teammate behind him, same sponsorship for Jose Tellez, who is just behind him, but is looking to hold off Rachel Hunt on board with the 24 machine. As he tries to fall behind, has to cut in front of Hunt, in fact, as he tries to hold on to the top 5. But this is where the dirty air can come into play, can cause aero push a little bit like that right there, which could see drivers head right towards the outside wall off the corners.
And that's really the danger, is that you get pulled into this full sense of security that you've got the grip, and then all of a sudden you'll get the corner exit and it won't be there, and the wall comes up very, very quickly here.
And already Hunt looking a bit better behind, trying to be aggressive here for 5th position. Dives to the inside of Tellez. Lets Rachel on by. Move Rachel Hunt up to the top 5 as they stack up just behind Tellez. Near contact between Dobbs and Lane that time off the corner.
Yeah, it looked like Dobbs was kind of going to make a play for that position as well, and Tellez quite abruptly shut him off, and then that put Dobbs under threat from Lane.
And that's kind of the situation, though, with this kind of a package and this kind of a racetrack. As soon as somebody tries to get underneath you, you're probably going to be attacked from behind if someone gets within range to try and go for the position. But don't be surprised that we'll see drivers switch lines. We've just seen that there with Johnson. He's trying to go from the top to the bottom to get some clean air.
Yeah, and we will definitely see that with guys in the mid-pack kind of fishing around, looking for some grip elsewhere and just looking for a bit of clean air.
Oh, and Johnson, though, loses the bottom side. Mike Caterino riding underneath him. However, able to squeeze on the top side as Lane hits the wall. Lane tries to save it. Able to avoid spinning in front of the back half of the field, but he'll lose tons of spots.
That was a great save, though. I really thought he was going straight back to the outside wall, but he got it straight. It's really impressive.
Now let's take a look at a quick GSRC replay here, Christian, because you mentioned how great of a save that was. It was very close to being near disaster.
Yeah, it looked like he just got in the wall a little bit and it fired him down, and I'm amazed he managed to get that turned away from the inside wall like that.
But that's the difficulty of Dover when you're having to carry a lot of speed. We've been seeing there was record apex speeds in real-world practice for the Cup Series this weekend, where they were going as high as 155 miles an hour in the apexes, as we take a look at the battle for P4.
Yeah, Rachel was looking really strong in practice and maybe didn't qualify quite as good as she would have liked, and is now trying to move her way up and doing a really good job of it, actually. It'll be interesting to see if Williams fights this or just kind of lets it go.
Yeah, that's the curious thing here. You can see Hunt trying to use the middle line, trying diamond off the corner. Described by some as one of the faster ways is to try and get the run on the bottom off the corners. That has allowed Hunt to go on the inside. Williams, we'll see if he elects to give the spot. No, not this time.
And looks like he's made his decision. He's going to defend this, and that's really the difficulty in passing. If you can go to the bottom, but getting off the corner and still being there going into the next turn is the hardest part of this racetrack. I find that anyway.
How do you try and counteract their dirty air then to try and get a run on somebody, whether it's a pass on the inside or if you can try and get the momentum to try and get to somebody's outside, like we've seen a lot in real life today?
Well, strangely, you can actually kind of be too close to people. If you roll up on them right in the center of the corner, it actually makes it even harder for you to be able to get a runoff. So I'd probably try entering a little bit higher in one and maybe running the middle before cutting really low all the way down to the white line coming off of 2, and then really trying to get under these going into 3. That would be my preferred way of trying to execute a pass here.
Still following along with this battle because a full train of cars is starting to form behind Williams II. He's lost nearly 2 seconds to Dan McLaren. Williams again is trying that very high line you described, going to the middle, and it's currently working to hold on to the position, but he's not gaining time on the cars in front.
Yeah, and this is where he's kind of hurting himself a little bit because he's made the decision to defend this position, but in doing so, he's pulling more cars towards him. And whereas he would have only lost 1 spot to Rachel before, he's now potentially going to lose multiple if Rachel can get a pass made.
And Rachel tried to use the same line as Williams this time, who used the bottom, nearly came to the inside. But Hunt's able to avoid any contact with Tellez there. She tried something different there, seeing that Paul Williams II was doing well with that line. Looks like she didn't like it though in 1 and 2, staying to the bottom this time to the middle.
Yeah, it just looked like maybe a little bit too high and just couldn't get it turned down coming through 2.
And it can be difficult to get it turned down in that corner though, because it's, depending on how you drive, it can be tighter compared to coming off of turn 4.
Yeah, with this high downforce package, I've really found that it's very, very line sensitive, especially kind of when you get to the point of the run where you're tire grip limited, I should say. And it results in these scenarios where you go from being completely at speed to I've missed the line by maybe a car width, and all of a sudden all your momentum is gone. And it's really difficult to kind of come back from that and get in a good rhythm again.
Battle going on screen, you can see for 7th spot, Paul M. Johnson behind that battle for 4th was able to get side by side with Dobbs. finally clears on by for the position, but Dobbs with the better run. Johnson nearly loses it down to the bottom. To the high side goes Dobbs, but can't do anything with that momentum in the loose condition from Johnson. But he looks like he's going to try and fight this.
Yeah,
Still a lot of craziness now in this grouping all of a sudden here. Dobbs now forced to settle back, but here comes Danny Cervantes working his way to the bottom side, trying to take advantage of the checkouts.
Yeah, Cervantes got a really good run off of 2 there, but he might be able to get it good because Dobbs had a bit of a checkup, and yeah, it looks like Cervantes might clear him going into 1 here. And he does.
And that's the hard thing, at least in my opinion, especially in a fixed race where if you do something like that and fight too hard potentially, someone else will try and get you the position back. But Alan Dobbs not able to take advantage of that slippage off of turn 2, falls back behind for P8.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is not making mistakes in a fixed race because, like you say, everybody's on the same car as you say. If you lose track position, it's very difficult to get it back.
And right now, at the moment, Bradley Hawley is in the lead by 1.7 seconds, by the way. His pace has just gone down by about half a tenth, but that clean air has really helped him pull away. However, he's going to be reaching traffic pretty soon in a race that has gone completely green so far, and traffic can be a major issue here at Dover. And a caution is out, so throw that out the window because Hickenbottom, Baron Hilton, and Robert Engelman all get tangled up in 1 and 2. And let's take a look at the GSRC replay here, Christian, as all 3 of those cars stacked up on the entry of 1 and 2.
It looks like there's kind of an attempt at a pass made, and it just resulted in a little bit of contact, and then there's a checkup, and everybody just kind of piles in. It's very easy to do that. Like you're saying, the speeds are so high here that even the slightest mistake from anybody, it causes a big knock-on effect, and it's very hard to avoid wrecks at this racetrack.
That was David Dreckman, by the way, that made that contact and caused all of that. As we'll take an look again. He was the one that was looking to make that pass here. He just gets that left rear quarter panel, and around goes everyone behind.
Yeah, it looked like he just went in there trying to get that little bit of get that lane to himself, and just didn't quite work out.
As to be expected, all the drivers making their way to pit lane, and expect 4 tires and fuel here. Already 85 laps to go in the racing action, and we're not even 14 minutes into the clock.
It was a really good green flag run to start the race, and I feel like everybody was doing a great job of keeping it clean and having really respectful racing there.
Absolutely, as the top 4 in fact, stay about the same. Hawley, Haynes, Williams II, and Hunt. Velez rounds out the top 5 with Johnson McLaren dropping to 7th with that pit stop sequence. Cervantes, Dobbs, and Harvey rounding out the top 10 positions here, but it's going to restack the field once again, and as we've seen, starts and restarts could be tricky if you do them on the straightaway today.
Yeah, there's that big risk of wheel spin if you wait too long to kind of go and you're on the flat part of the track. It's very difficult to get the car to pull away. The interesting thing for me here is that Haynes was running a pretty comparable pace to Holly right before that yellow came out, so if he can get a good restart and maintain the 2nd position, it'll be interesting to see if he can take the fight to Holly here.
Yeah, on the long run, while we have fallen behind by about 2 seconds nearly, give or take, he seemed to be able to reel that time back in since he started getting the clean air, maybe trying to stop, think about saving the tires to see if he can do something different to catch up to Hawley, but now he's going to have a chance to attack here as everyone lines up behind the pace car, lap cars ducking down to the lane this time by. And what has been an eventful race, should note Nick Pruitt missed the start. 27 total machines are still on track here. I want to ask you this, though, in terms of the restarts, though. It's been discussed by many drivers, various different gearing. Some people will start in 1st gear this week, if you start in the corner especially. So, of course, 2nd gear is an option. A few others were even testing third gear in practice restarts before today's race. What do you prefer in this kind of a situation in terms of what gear you want to start in?
Well, I feel like first gear does potentially have a little bit of a benefit, but it's very high risk. And I would say if I'm unsure, I'm always going to take second. I'm pretty sure third is too long. I can't see how you can get a really good player in third, but there is a benefit maybe to using first, especially if you're kind of near the front and you can get a cleaner getaway. The further back in the pack you are, the harder it is to make that lower gear work, just because you're relying on there being space in front of you, and it just seems really high risk, especially if you're in the mid-pack to use first, because you've got no idea whether the guy ahead of you is going to be able to get a good pull or not.
And even it could be high risk for if you're, say, the lead car wanting to start in first gear, because it's not an on and off switch. If you mash the gas too hard, you can have massive tire spin, especially to the right.
Yeah, I definitely think as the leader, I would always take second, because you have that inherent advantage of being the deciding car as to when to go. So I really think if I was the leader, I would always take second. Maybe if I'm the car on the outside or starting third, I'd think about using first.
Bradley Hawley in control of the field once again on the bottom side. We'll see what gear he elects to use, as he's the control car for the second time today. First restart, coming to 82 laps to go. Bradley Hawley brings them nice and slowly down to the front stretch. Coming down to the front stretch, waiting all the way to the end of the straight. Starting in second gear as he hits the slow pedal, green flags back out, and Hunt with a horrible start. More cars making contact on the apron, but we still keep it clean.
Yeah, Hunt really killed the outside wall there. It looked kind of like she pulled the next gear and it just went straight up the racetrack.
And she had been struggling on restart practice throughout the entire session before the green flag tonight. That time, major aerodynamic damage to the right front of Rachel Hunt drops her to fourth. Paul M. Johnson trying to go for the position. And as this now bunches up here, it's now looking like a battle for third position is forming up again as the top two had a brilliant start with all that wheel spin.
Yeah, interesting decision by Hawley to wait as long as he did. It seems to have worked out for him, and Hunt's actually coming back to this third spot maybe.
Hunt trying to use the bottom side. Williams the second. Forced up top, but able to still carry the momentum. That opens up the door, though, for Paul M. Johnson to take away the top side from Rachel. So Hunt loses the position, drops down to 6th spot. As Johnson looks to try and attack.
Johnson's driving a really smart race. He's been slowly moving his way up, and he's up 6 spots since the start of the race, and I think right there showed you how he's been doing that. He's waiting for the opportunity to develop, going to the outside, and it'll be interesting to see if he can pass Paul Williams, because we've seen that nobody's really been able to get by him. As you see, it looks like he's looking at the bottom and along.
If you remember to the Roval last race, they were connected at the hip. You can see the damage, by the way, for Rachel Hunt there in that right front, as Johnson adds some right side damage to his car.
It was a good pass, but it looked like he just kind of mistimed it on the exit.
Let's take another look at this one as he ends up tapping the outside wall. Just needed another foot or so.
Doesn't look like it was as considerable damage as Rachel got on the restart, but still, it doesn't help, especially with the high speeds at these racetracks. You do not want to damage the car.
And we talked about the importance of aerodynamics here, especially with some of the speeds here. It can be extremely crucial.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. Most definitely, for sure. P6 is heating up, though.
Savannah is actually up 6 spots as well. He's holding on to that 6 right now. It looks like he's had some contact in the rear end. I think that was on the restart.
Yeah, that might have been with some of the cars that were having wheel spin all the way down to the apron. But again, we stayed green after some of that. Cervantes dealing with the dive from behind. Alan Dobbs nearly touching the back bumper, nearly added some more to that rear end.
It's a really deep dive into the corner by Dobbs there, and not sure what he was trying to do, whether he just overshot it or maybe he was trying to get a diamond line on the exit, but it didn't really work out for him.
You see here once again the drivers in this grouping trying to use that middle and diamond on down again off of turn 4. Dobbs getting the better launch out of the battle for 6th position, but as we've noted, it can be very difficult to pass once we get a few laps into a run.
And then we've got everybody, it looks like, kind of stacking up a little bit behind Williams here. He looks like he's just kind of struggling for longer on pace. He's obviously in a good position on track. He's in 4th, but he's got a huge line of cars building behind him right now.
We've already seen nearly a second of fall-off here as we look at the battle now shaping up again behind Williams the second for 4th position. At this point, do you just try and save the tires and conserve a little bit, or just try and keep on pushing and try and keep up your pace?
I think it depends on where you are, and if we're talking about this battle specifically, then I would just save a little bit and take advantage of mistakes. Like, Dobbs just had a bit of a horrible run coming off a 2 right there, and as you see, Teller's right to the bottom, but Dobbs is going to pinch him a lot coming through 4 there.
Hunt also did the same thing with Cervantes, in fact, just in front of that battle as you look at, again, the 7th and 8th place cars trying to go at it in this grouping. Again, being very difficult to pass here, approaching 69 laps to go this time by.
And I think the fight that we've got here is going to run all the way to the end of the race. It looks like Paul Johnson just made a little bit of a mistake there coming off of 4.
And Johnson, who was trying to pull away from the group, lost an extra 1/10 of a second last time by. That was because he went all the way up the banking off of turn 4. Might be chewing up that right front tire a lot, trying to carry the speed. This time doesn't go as high. And look back once again, though, for the battle shaping up again for 4th, 5th, and 6th, though, as these drivers try and conserve that right front tire.
And it looks like just a little bit further back than that, Dobbs made a mistake and just dropped them way off the back of this line now.
Let's head off towards that battle, in fact, because it's now side-by-side behind Dobbs. Telez forced side-by-side with Adam Zemke. Zemke in the Nationwide machine. Trying to ride the high side. Everybody else stays on the bottom. Not able to gain a spot there. However, McLaren nearly attacked, while Telez tries to attack Dobbs, but can't do anything there. Right now, Telez trying to ride the bottom side, while Zemke's struggling to get clean air because Dobbs is running the top on the entry and the bottom of the apex.
Telez is in danger here. If he gets stuck down there, he might have a whole run of cars come by him on the top.
Side by side still for the position. Telez slides up. Now he wants McLaren and Zemke to fight. They're stuck side by side down the front stretch. And that is exactly what Telez wants here. Is he wants to relieve some of the pressure, I think, from him. He wants those two cars, the McLaren and Zemke, who are near identical pace, to fight so he can fight with Dobbs.
Yeah, you really need a gap behind you if you're going to try and fight a car. Just he nearly clears Dobbs, but not quite, and Dobbs gets good run off the 4 there.
And McLaren nearly squished Zemke up to the fence as well. That's also reeled in Eric Roberts to the position battle. Telez still fighting the bottom side. Let's take a look at a quick replay here of Zemke, as this was getting very hairy off the corner. Nearly made contact with the right rear of McLaren there, Christian.
Yeah, it almost looked like it was going to be 3 wide into 1 as well.
Oh,
Dobbs
trouble.
a huge mistake out of 4.
Dobbs brings out the caution flag for the second time. Pinballs off the outside wall of turn 4. And we're back under yellow. He had just gotten back to single file, Christian, but just carried too much momentum and speed off the exit and up into the wall.
Yeah, he looked like he was struggling really to kind of maintain his position here, and he'd been kind of wild for a few laps, but just got away from him. And again, I'm saying it's so easy to do here, and the consequences are so severe, as we see there. Just got in the outside wall line coming out of 4, and it's probably the end of his day there.
He already had some damage on his car from before, but bam! Right into the outside wall. But if you hit that outside wall, you're likely going to say hello to the inside as well. That's what he does there and loses the front clip on the second caution of the day. On the bright side, for the rest of the field, though, they'll be able to make it on fuel from here.
Yeah, and this is going to be interesting in terms of strategy from this point forward if we have any more yellows, just to see if we kind of have anybody staying out on future cautions now that we can all make it on fuel.
All the lead lap cars, again, ducking down to pit here. Again, it's a very slow pit lane, 35 miles an hour, the speed limit on the iRacing service as everyone comes on and in for their 4 tires and fuel. But as we've seen as well in real life, it's a tough one to enter in green flag conditions especially. Right now, it's not looking like we'll see that challenge tonight. But the drivers making their way out of the pit lane. First driver out, once again, is Holly. Second is Haynes. Johnson moves up to third. But Paul Williams, the second, rounding up the top 4. Serviving, though, up to 5th, passing Rachel Hunt. Hunt not electing to repair the damage.
I kind of don't think that you can, really, with how much we've talked about how important track position is here. It's just a big net loss, and realistically, you're not going to fix the car that much under these yellows. The lap's quite short. You just don't have enough time in the box to do it. And another guy that had early damage, Colton Lane, he's still mired back in 16th, and I'm pretty sure he took a long trip down pit road to fix his car.
And Lane still has some crinkles on not just his hood and on that right front fender. He also has some of the splitter up as well that looks like that might not be able to be completely fixed at this point. But more drivers are ducking down. Dobbs just came down this time by into the pit lane in the 22 machine. So looks like he tried to pull some strategy there with the cars ducking down to the lane, but wants to get the service though. Remember, he was the car that got damaged. He is now trying to take as much repairs as he can though here. He can potentially stay on the lead lap if he gets out in time.
Yeah, and I think Dobbs' best chance going forward from here is really to just accept that he's now not going to have the pace to fight, but that there's obviously going to be a chance for more yellows to come out. So kind of just ride at the back and just try and stay out of anything else that happens and pick up points that way.
Indeed, right now, right at the moment, by the way, there are 23 cars on the lead lap as everyone stays behind the pace car. Robert Engelman looking like he's wanting to take the wave around, though, in the 666. He is a lap down still, even with the wave. Lucky down position on this upcoming restart would be Brendan Chatley. He'll have to try and keep up. But the driver's getting ready to get the one-to-go signal here. The biggest movers on the day so far, Charles Sumner plus 10, started in 25th, followed by a couple drivers plus 7, and Paul M. Johnson and Danny Cervantes. Biggest losers, Dobbs minus 14, Lane minus 13, and 19th spot now, with the rest of the drivers in single-digit number losses that are still running.
And that really highlights, again, how hard it's been to pass. We've only seen a couple of guys really be big movers tonight, and I'm actually really impressed with the progress that both Johnson and Cervantes made. They were cutting through cars at the head of the field who were obviously very fast in terms of pace, and they've done a great job tonight.
I'm curious to see what they can do here on this upcoming restart. Hawley has been waiting all the way to the end of the straightaway. That's at the very edge of the real-world start zone at Dover International Speedway. Drivers all set to go here. Again, Hawley and Haynes on the front row for the restart. Second row will be the Pauls. Paul Williams the second, and Paul M. Johnson. Pace car is off. Will Hawley do it earlier, or we wait until the straightaway? Them up nice and slow to the edge of the straightaway. Green flag is back out. We're underway with a great launch this time from the field.
Yeah, he made it a little easier on them that time than he has before. Just went a little bit sooner and kind of helped them all out with the wheel spin there. And they've all got single file pretty quickly.
Paul M. Johnson able to hold on to third position in the backdrop of the lead battle. But Rob Haynes looking to try and attack up at the front. He's within a couple car lengths of Bradley Hawley. Can he take advantage of the situation? Well, everyone lines up for third on back.
I think this is his best shot at it. If he does have anything for Hawley, now is the time to make it happen.
Especially if we get a longer run. But the drivers inside the top 7 already single file. But Haynes trying to find a way to get the run. Just can't get the speed he needs to, though, this time by Hawley. Able to be recording the fastest lap on the racetrack at 22.796.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit in the pre-race that the clean air is very important. So Hawley definitely does have an advantage, but if he's running his fastest laps now, it's definitely because he feels like he's potentially under threat here. So it'll be interesting to see how it develops.
Currently, the first side-by-side battles were around P14, where Charles Sumner has moved up to that spot. But it's getting very interesting in that group if we can take a quick peek back there, because while these drivers are outside of the top positions at the moment, they are really stacking up. You've got a mixture of damaged cars that are in front of undamaged cars that are in front of drivers that are looking for track position on back after getting repairs done.
Well, the fight was very, very even before that yellow came out. I think we had everybody from Dobbs down to 16th, all nose to tail. So these guys are very close to each other in pace, and that's why we're seeing that nobody's able to make a breakaway here.
The car that's losing the most spots in that grouping already is Mike Richter on this lap alone, -3. He's still side by side with Pat Harvey. That allowed those two cars you see there, and Pete Chalk, as well as Mike Catarino, to get on by. The reason Richter is struggling here, he's got significant right rear damage, and the spoiler is all jacked up.
Yeah, it looked like he's gone to the top to maybe let one car by, and now he's maybe stuck up there and having to let everybody by.
And that time he scraped the outside wall, so had some slight right front fender damage to that trouble as well. He started at the edge of the top 10, just outside of it rather. He's now already back to 18th position. Looking on board here from John LaBaff, meanwhile, as he tries to take advantage of the struggling car. LaBaff, no damage on his machine as he tries to move himself up using the bottom side. Dobbs nearly made contact behind, but LaBaff runs the bottom side. Has the faster speed, though, in the corners with Richter now getting turned. Richter gets spun around into 3, saves it. We stay green as he gets off the racetrack. And I'm not sure. You're going to have to explain this one.
I'm not really sure I can. I don't know whether LaBeouf felt like he was clear and was trying to move up behind him or what, but it just seems strange as to why you would move up like that on the straightaway, especially when you were that far from the corner.
It almost looked like Richter actually tapped the wall and then came back down across LaBeouf.
Yeah, but LaBeouf was running him so tight. It was not a lot of space up there.
They're still continuing to shuffle, though. Colton Lane is currently trying to get to 16th spot. He was one of the drivers able to take advantage of the damaged car. He is in 16th, pardon me, but he is catching up to Brandon Walter, who is in P15. So Lane trying to put on a recovery drive here.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be disappointed with this, though, especially given he started 6th. And to be honest, this season doesn't seem to have really been going Lane's way at all. And we know he's a fast driver.
Indeed, right now, as you look at some more of the cars shuffling around for position, Zemke, meanwhile, is looking to move himself up tonight. Telez, though, says, nuh-uh, gets the run on the high side. And this is where the aerodynamics get very difficult. He's trying hard to try and move himself up the position because Eric Roberts is running away from this.
Yeah, this is the thing. If you're going to try and execute a pass, you have to be kind of forceful with it, and you have to get it done quickly, because if you don't, you drag other people into the fight, you lose the cars ahead of you, and it just gets harder and harder the longer it takes you to pass a car.
And remember, he's right now in top 5 in points, and he's in a situation where, right now with Hawley dominating the race, Haynes, who is looking decent in the standings as well up in front of him, he wants to at least get into the positive. Meanwhile, McLaren, he moves up a positive position up to the top 5, but he's still fighting hard with Cervantes on the bottom side. Rachel Hunt watching in the wings. They're side by side.
It looked like, McLaren's just giving it up a little bit there.
Wonder if he just let the position on by here. Might be a bit of a struggle, but Hunt wants to get some positions back. Remember, was in the top 5 at one point in that purple, white, and pink machine.
Yeah, Hunt's got very good pace, but it seems like that damage has hurt and has now kind of made it very, very difficult for her to get the full pace out of that car and execute these passes. And there was potentially a little bit of an opportunity to sneak up the 6th there, but with those guys sorting it out and getting back single file, that seems to have gone away.
Right now they're staying calm for the now. That's the main question. How long do they stay calm? 42 laps to go this time by for the lead cars as they continue to fight on. By the way, the fight going on for the race lead, this time it has gone a little bit differently. Hawley has only pulled away by 1.1 seconds, but Haynes and Paul M. Johnson have stayed within 2 seconds. Johnson, in fact, was the fastest of the 3 last time by.
Yeah, and both Haynes and Johnson have been a little bit quicker than Hawley the past couple of laps, so it'd be interesting to see if Hawley's got anything that he can respond with here. He might have just been saving, letting them get a little bit close. We know it's hard to pass, and he's got the best position he possibly can have with the clean air.
It also looks like, in terms of the driving style, Hawley's able to arc it on in, lets it slide to the middle, goes for the double apex. It seems, though, the other 2 cars might be trying to attack the corners a little bit more aggressively to close in some of the time. As Haynes is one of those drivers doing that, that pushes them much more higher. As we look back to the battle for P number 9, where they're doing similar things to what we just seen with the lead cars.
Yeah, and it comes back to how difficult it is to pass, and we see Zemke's got a nice runoff of 4 there, but there's not really much he can do with it as he gets down to 1. Chooses a little bit of a different line here, but don't think it's really going to give him much advantage off of exit of 2, and the gap stays pretty even there. Zemke just about kept it out of the wall.
Status, though, it looks like Tellez is struggling a little bit. That time was a bit tied off with 2. This time, fighting to arc it down to the bottom of the racetrack and actually stays away from the wall this time. Near dead even in terms of lap times this time, just a touch quicker was Tellez as you look from the back end of the 24 machine. Zemke just can't get himself the run he needs to. He's trying to charge the corners, but he's losing some of that speed off. Now it doesn't matter, though, because the caution flag is out again. It's for Mike Richter in the middle of 1 and 2. Third caution of the day as he spun on his own in the middle of the straightaway.
Yeah, he'd been really struggling since that last restart. We talked about him going backwards and having more damage on the car, and looked like it just got away from him coming off. Well, actually, on the entry to the corner, it looks like he hit the wall.
That is a weird one because it just looked like he might have accidentally arced himself up into the Dover side there. You seen it there?
Yeah, initially I was kind of thinking that maybe he'd had a bit of a moment coming off of 4 and it snaked down the straightaway, but no, it looked like he really did. He just drove too high on the straightaway and clipped the wall right before the flag's down.
And we'll have to see what can happen here with the strategy a little bit. It was a longer run, but someone did end up making contact with him in the lead group. Johnson made some contact on his left side on the back end of Richter. Again, that was Paul M. Johnson that made some contact in that as he tried to get by Richter.
I'm hoping it hasn't hurt him too much. He was a completely innocent member of that accident. This car looks pretty clean. I'm wondering if he just nicked him on the way past.
See this on board, how close it was from being very significant. And you'll see Richter come from the top to about the middle, right about, well, it's supposed to be there-ish for the incident. I can just get that right there because you'll see Richter trying come down the track. It's right here as he lets it roll down the bank.
And that's the difficulty with that, because with how steep the banking is, even if you hold the brake, the car's going to slide down anyway. I'm not really sure if there's anything you could have done to prevent that, and as we see, it just kind of clipped him.
Just a bit of a bend, it looks like, in the fender is what we're hearing for Paul M. Johnson. But he didn't get the damage repaired, so it's not that significant. At least to sacrifice the track position, he'll stay in P number 3 after pit stops. Third caution flag of the day, coming to 34 laps to go this time by here. But for the most part, it's been a bit of a cleaner race than I think we kind of were expecting. Dover known for a bit of an attrition track, but for the most part, the runs have been going 20 to 25 laps so far.
Definitely. I mean, I'd like to see a little bit longer runs than that, but especially with the issues that we've talked about coming off of 2 and 4, and the yellows that we have seen have kind of all been surrounding that, except for that last one that we just had. But I overall, I'm pretty impressed with how these guys have handled this. I knew this would be a tough track, and it's very unforgiving. I know we said that the Roval was really difficult last week, and it is, but it's difficult in a different way. And I think everybody's done a good job here tonight. And we've had a couple of cars have light wall damage who've actually not struggled as much after that as I'd expect. People like Rachel Hunt, who had significant contact with the wall on a restart, have really been doing okay. Still running well inside the top 10.
Now Hunt in P number 6 at the moment. McLaren's been up and down the leaderboard, it seems, today. Another longer stop for that 73 car into P number 8 again after being as high as the top 5. For the most part, the drivers that started inside the top 10 today have stayed in there and have looked fairly strong. Johnson's had been moving through the top 10, Cervantes +7, Roberts +4, McLaren -3, Tellez -7. Essentially, if you start in the top 10, you've been able to keep the track position for the most part.
Yeah, that all comes down to how difficult it is to pass, and especially at the sharpest end of the field, say the top 5 have really kind of been static most of the race. They've been moving around in between themselves, but they've really kind of maintained the position that they've got, and they haven't really fallen back from there.
We haven't gotten a caution-precaution situation to open up the strategy window for drivers to stay out or to even take 2 at the moment.
Yeah, the runs have definitely been way too long to make any calls like taking 2 or staying out. And we're coming up to lap 79 here, and I'm hoping it won't go that way, but there's always the possibility as we get towards the racing.
Still a lot could happen. Fingers crossed we didn't have the commentator's curse there as we work our way through 3 and 4. Bradley Hawley, again, control of the field, has led every single lap so far at Dover, and has been in control with Haynes and Johnson behind him. Earlier start this time, green flag back out. And a remarkably good start from Hawley as he now forces the fight for second spot.
Very, very early restart compared with his normal ones, and it looks like Paul Johnson's got it cleared for second.
So Haynes went up the hill that time, lets Johnson go on by off the corner. So move Paul M. Johnson to his highest position of the day so far. Cervantes up to 4th position on the restart. Paul Williams the second dropped to 5th. While Hunt stayed on in 6th position on the track. They're still scrapping though between McLaren and Roberts for P number 7.
And Roberts just tagged the wall a little bit off of 2, but it didn't look like it hurt his momentum at all. He is dropping back, and now he's got Zemke on his inside.
And it looks like Roberts, bit of a struggle these first couple laps, but already this is where we usually see some of the aero effect come in. Roberts now able to use the top side to his advantage rather than fall behind. But look who's now inside the top 10 for the first time tonight. Robert B. Sod Jr. We haven't mentioned him too much this evening. That 97 car is having a strong run tonight.
Yeah, he's had a quiet run, but he's got up to the top 10 right when it matters. Looked like he was trying to make a little bit of a pass on Zemke there, and it didn't come off. And oh, we've got a car down at the bottom. Out of 2.
Yep. That is one of the cars that were in an early incident. Baron Hilton is currently off the pace on the bottom of the racetrack and out of the way, though. Have to keep an eye, though, on these cars inside the top 10. Charles Sumner, meanwhile, is up to 11. Battles going on, though, for P number 6. Hunt now under attack by McLaren off of turn 2. McLaren wants his spots back in that blue and black machine.
And McLaren went all the way to the bottom, and Hunt went all the way to the top, and it actually evened out pretty well coming off of 2 there, and again coming off of 4. The lines are pretty even right now.
Yes, but Hunt not able to get as much speed in the entry. McLaren sends it hard, and the Dirty Governor's machine. So move McLaren up to 6, while Hunt still tries to poke around, can't do anything there, but is now under attack with Eric Roberts providing pressure, while Hunt tries to keep up with the 73.
I'm wondering if in these early laps, when the tires are freshest, is when we see the damage hurting Hunt the most. Because she's really strong in the late run pace, but really seems to struggle on these restarts.
Yeah, right now Hunt's pace in the 23.5. That is 4/10 off the leaders at the moment on some of these laps. But Hunt that time able to attack the bottom side, is able to actually separate a bit from the cars behind. McLaren, though, up in front. He's now trying to attack that 7 machine of Paul Williams II. Just can't get to the bottom, though, to get to the quarter panel.
And slightly behind that, we saw Zemke had a little bit of an opportunity on Roberts, and it didn't come off, and now he's in the threat again from Bissell.
Now you see that in the backdrop, in fact, right now, as he stays up on the top side, already able to clear himself, though, on the quarter entry, and back to the bottom. Take away the clean air for Robert Bisson Jr. inside the train, but look who that is behind him. Charles Sumner. Remember him? He started in 25th position, is our biggest mover in the field at the moment inside the top half of the field. Plus 14, looking to make it plus 15.
Yeah, he's done a great job. I fully expected him to move forwards after I saw his practice pace, and obviously qualifying didn't go at all the way he wanted it to, but he's done a great job here.
Yeah, Sumner came in tonight third in the point standings, 33 points behind the leader, but a strong campaign in the point standings so far, stays inside the train. But the driver that's gone backwards this entire run so far was Jose Tellez. He's been going backwards, that 24 car, all race today, now all the way back at 14.
Yeah, it's obviously disappointing for him, and it looked like he had good pace near the start of the race. I don't know whether it's just kind of got away from him the longer it's gone, but again, right there in 3 and 4, it looked like he just missed the bottom completely, and now he's got Peacock right behind him.
You're looking at the splits right now, 5.7 seconds back of the race leader already, and he's just continuing to go backwards and backwards and backwards. Remember, he had a very good qualifying run tonight.
Yeah, he's just got no corner speed, it seems.
Especially at the mid-run, because we've seen him in the short run do pretty well, but it seems like after 5 or 10 laps, when the aero especially kicks into the tires, he's just not been able to carry the speed he wants to.
Yeah, he's definitely struggling more than others, and I'm kind of curious as to why. I don't know whether it's just he's driving in deeper than the rest of them.
They're all stacking up, meanwhile, behind Bisson Jr. because Zemke wants to get a spot that moved up. Bisson Jr. tonight, moments ago, but Lane is now looking to move his way back to the top 10. Again, this train, led by the 97. This time he struggles off of turn 2 as they still bunch up behind him.
And Lane's actually making some forward progress now. He was struggling in the back after the initial restart, and now he's got another opportunity for 10th here.
Zemke has a bad run off of turn 4. Adds some right side damage, loses the spot, and falls out of the top 10. Now Sumner, though, has the outside line with Catarino and Tellez both trying to fall behind. Can Sumner use the outside line to his advantage? Yes, he does. Loss of 2 spots. No, Sumner has to lift.
Sumner looks like he's just being maybe a little bit too nice on the corner exit. It's giving a little bit too much room to the bottom, and it's making his exit on the top more difficult than it needs to be, and that's why he's not able to get clear on the exit of 2 and 4.
This time, though, he takes the entry much more aggressive to be able to get clear. Diamonds off the corner. So he's finally able to secure that 11th position. Loss of 2 spots in about a lap and a half by Zemke, who now is under attack by a couple various different cars here. Back to single file they go. 15 laps to go in this race. And the leaders are reaching lap traffic. Some of them are staying on the bottom side. We'll take a look at those leaders. Hawley able to pull some advantage away. Robert Engelman got in the way of Johnson and Haynes for a moment. Engelman will try and get to the middle line this time. Can Haynes get on by is the question. Engelman's going to let them on by the bottom side. The gap between the leaders, 0.7 of a second.
It doesn't look quite like Johnson's got enough pace to get to Hawley, but he's held on to the 2nd spot after getting it on the restart, and I'm impressed by that. I wasn't sure he was going to be able to. I thought Haynes had a bit better pace than he did.
Caution is out, and Peacock is the one that has it. Zemke is around on the front stretch. And for the 4th time, the caution's out, and this could open things up. 2 different cars hit the wall. Peacock and Zemke both hit the wall off of 4.
And we saw these guys were all really close together, and kind of as you get towards the end of the race, this kind of thing becomes a bit inevitable, really, that if one car in a big pack has a moment, it brings more into it, and yeah, there's actually a lot of cars involved in that.
Brandon Walter had to thread the needle there and avoided any damage from that, but take a look again. Zemke starts off the aero push train, hits the wall. Then we see Peacock hit the wall. We've seen Walter just avoid it, but Hickenbottom gets involved at the last moment. Let's take a look though from Walter because he had to thread the needle on this.
Yeah, you see it all unfolding in front of him, and then cars going both directions, and he just manages to get through the gap before it all really goes wild.
And that brings out the caution flag. Zemke had the hardest hit and ended up hitting the inside wall, nose first. Well, the other 2 cars wrecked to the bottom of the racetrack. Again, the 4th caution of the day. And he was trying to make a pass on the outside wall, but it's so easy if you don't anticipate it early enough to just shove into the fence.
Yeah, and it really happens very, very quickly. Right as the banking drops away, if you've not got it turned just early enough, you'll feel it, and you know it, and that's the worst thing. You know it's going to happen, and there's nothing you can do.
Strategy sees Hawley have a rough pit stop. Did he get out in time? Though it looks like he did, despite losing 0.8 of a second in the box. He barely beats Paul M. Johnson, while Rob Haynes holds on to 3rd. Everybody taking 4 tires and fuel except for a couple drivers. David Treckman and Braden Chatley, who are in 14th and 15th, did mix up the strategy as you look at those pit stop splits amongst the top 2. It was a race by inches off pit road.
It was very close, and that's really the advantage of being on pole at any track, is that even if you do have a bad pit stop or a bad getaway, the cone is so close to you that you can just about maintain. If the cone had been maybe 15 feet further along, Hawley wouldn't have been the leader.
Yeah, it had to have been within an edge of a bumper. And it would have been interesting to see what Hawley could do in dirty air, because he's had clean air all race long. We're coming towards 10 laps to go next time around the circuit, as well as towards the edge of the timer, so pressure is on. These are quick race laps, but if attrition builds up, it could get interesting. Let's take a look at the GSRC replay here as we take a look. We're going to take a quick look at that pit exit. This is about a couple seconds after this. You'll see how close this race was again, Christian.
Yeah, and it really came down to having that first pit stall and just having enough in hand because of that to get away and just maintain the lead. It's only fractions, though.
Heck, having the inside line might have been the biggest advantage of all of them. You see all the drivers on the jacks. Left side tires come down, a bit of wheel spin, and just able to get the edge on the bottom part of the green cones to keep the race lead. Still, 10 laps to go this time by as they stay behind the pace car. This could get interesting, though, with not a lot of time left.
Yeah, and that was massively important for Hawley right there, because with 10 to go, it's going to be so difficult to execute any kind of pass, especially on the leader with that clean air advantage. So I think if he wins this race, it's gonna have come down to that right there, that he just maintained the lead coming off of pit road.
And of course, you got to keep an eye on that timer. It's approaching about 5 minutes to go on that as well. So there's going to be a lot of urgency on this restart. Especially since, if you remember back to Richmond, I believe it was, yes. If once the timer ran out and there was a green-white checkered situation, you got a one-lap shootout, and that would get interesting. We'll see how this start can go, though, with 9 to go.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the wild one, if there's going to be one.
Holly in control of the field. Paul M. Johnson on the outside. Danny Cervantes on the outside line of row 2. Inside line of row 2 is Rob Haynes in the top 4. Pace car is off. Where will Holly hit the lap pad was the question. Racing in the middle of the corner. Green flags back out. We're racing again at Dover with 9 laps to go.
Johnson got a really good restart there. Wasn't able to maintain on the outside of Holly, but still kept second quite easily, and now might have an opportunity here. He's been really strong on the short run.
We'll see if he can try and take advantage of the short run pace. We're going to get a caution flag, though, on the backstretch. Pat Harvey around on the exit of turn 2. For the 5th time tonight, the yellow flag is out. Now let's take a look at this incident here. This is involving 67 machine. This is the back part of the field. And it looked like a stack-up. Wow, with the 33.
Yeah, nothing really that Harvey could do right there. There was a stack-up in front of him, and his only option was try and get to the top of the racetrack. And it looked like he maybe just hit the brakes, and the nose just went straight. And unfortunately for him, just clipped the outside wall. And it's very unfortunate. And there was more incident on the backstretch.
Yeah, Besaw Jr. got turned after the caution came out, I believe. Down the backstretch. So what happened here? He was side by side of lane and hits the wall. And he got hit multiple times as well. And now he's in the garage area as well in this race.
It's a disappointing way to end for Besaw. He'd done a good job moving himself up into the back end of the top 10 there, and all comes undone just with one mistake coming off of 2.
And the crazy thing is, Dreckman was the one who caused a bit of that stack up. Remember, he had one of those 10-second pit stop for 2 tires, and ends up having, how do I put this right? Having Karma essentially come back within 5 seconds down the backstretch there, as he got hard contact with Besaw.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that he deserved that to happen to him, but for sure he was involved in that initial incident, and then immediately a following incident took him out.
Caution flag is out, and of course half a lap turn, nobody coming down for tires, but we're near the edge of the race timer. This is gonna get tight now all of a sudden with 6 to go.
Yeah, there is just enough time, I think, to get the laps in, but it's going to be very tight. It might cut the race maybe 1 to 2 laps short.
They're coming to that 6 to go this time by. Again, the leaders, Hawley, Johnson, Haynes, Cervantes, McLaren, top 5. Dreckman already into the garage area with that incident as he blew an engine from that, but car's getting 2 to go here. And we've seen Johnson getting a decent run before that caution flag. This might be his last chance here. What do you do if you were Paul M. Johnson to try and get yourself to victory lane?
Well, his biggest thing is definitely getting down to turn 1 and still having that second position. And I think Holly will have to do something different now on his restarts, because it looks like Johnson's got enough of what Holly does on the restart figured out to match him at the very least. And even if he can't be side by side with him, he can maintain that second position, and he can have a good run following that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Holly either go very, very early on this restart or very, very late. But I definitely don't think it's going to be like his previous restarts have been.
I was going to ask you in terms of Holly how the restart would go there, but I think you partially answered the question really there. He's started the race really going down the straightaway. At the end of the straightaways, at the edge of the real world restart zone. Then basically transitioned to the middle of turn 4, essentially where that AAA insurance advertising board is along the wall here. Where do you see him launching off?
I think his safest opportunity is to go as early as possible. That does mean that Johnson is probably going to maintain that second spot, but it also gives him the best chance to get away without any wheel spin or kind of any error on his part. The longer he leaves it, the more risk there is on him making a mistake and then Johnson being able to capitalize on that. So I think the safest bet is to go early and to try and get a little bit of a lead and then just play the defense for the rest of the race.
And just at the right time maybe for some of the cars, there's a cloud up above the track. Track temperature hasn't been affected yet here, but if it ends up dropping at all during these last couple laps, the grip levels might shoot up and allow the chance for drivers to pull more speed here as they go through 3 and 4.
Yeah, it definitely kind of hands the advantage over to the guys who are a bit more adaptable, that they'll find a little bit more grip.
Pace car getting all set to go here on what could be the final start of the race. 4 laps to go this time. Hawley and Johnson and a couple others already bumping and banging into the restart zone. Green flag is waving. We're back racing at Dover with 4 to go, and they're wrecking down the front. Cervantes and McLaren in the wall. More cars getting collected. It's the big one of the Monster Mile. Walter gets collected. Dobbs in his second incident. More cars still stopped in the middle of the straight as multiple top 10 cars get involved.
I just seen that Johnson looked like he was struggling to get away, and then I saw Cervantes have an even bigger moment behind, and just with that many cars there, and that's where it comes down to restarting on the front stretch is so difficult. You see all those cars go straight up the racetrack, and they're all trying to just hold the throttle down because they know that this is the restart that matters, and it's hard to kind of get into your head and not make that mistake, and it's so easy to have this happen, and it's just unfortunate. We see Johnson actually made a little bit of contact with the wall.
Yeah, he had some wheel spin as well. We'll take a look at Paul M. Johnson, see the severity again. He was on the outside of the front row, hooks right into the wall, but is able to keep the spot as Haynes didn't get a good launch either on the bottom side. So that collects at least 5, 6 or more cars here, and now this is going to get interesting here on how this is going to shape up as they're lined up behind the pace car at the edge of the timer. And I believe they are going to get the checkered here, maybe. Hawley is the leader at the time of the caution flag. We'll see.
I believe there's no restart.
And it looks like some of the cars are getting that shown to them now. Yes, indeed. For the 4th time in a row, Bradley Hawley wins in the PRL Cup Series. And he was just the king of this race all day long. Led just about every single lap. In fact, I believe every single one.
Yeah, and I mean, he did do a great job, and like I said, I did think that coming out of the pit lane in the lead is what would win it for him, and it did. He controlled the restarts, and he was never headed after that.
So Bradley Hawley wins for the 4th straight time in a row to start Season 4. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your post-race coverage of the Precision Racing League Cups NASCAR Cup Series, live from Dover, Delaware. You're watching the Global SimRacing Channel. Welcome back, everyone, to Dover International Speedway for more coverage of the PRL Cup Series. It was a wild race tonight, but in the end, Bradley Holly dominated them all, led just about every single lap from start to finish, wins it at the end of the timer over Paul M. Johnson. Rob Haynes came away with a third-place finish, while Paul Williams II held on to fourth position. Rachel Hunt went up and down across the top 10, came away with fifth after the crash that brought out the last caution flag of the night. Colton Lane came away in sixth with Eric Roberts, Charles Sumner, and Jose Telez, along with Brandon Walter, rounding out the top 10. Frank Peachock came away in 11th tonight, with Adam Zemke in 12th. Remember, he was battling in the top 10 before he stuffed it in the wall, collected a couple cards. Alan Dobbs came away 13th. Danny Cervantes involved in the last incident, finishing 14th, with Demarius Hickenbottom rounding up the top 15 here, Christian.
Then we got Dan McLaren and Robert Engelman, the first guys off the lead lap in 16th and 17th. Mike Caterino and David Dreckman came home 18th and 19th. David Dreckman, the first guy really with major damage. And then we had Pat Harvey in 20th with John LaBath 21st. Robert Besaw and Brandon Chatley. We saw Besaw, he had a really good night, and then it just kind of all came undone on one of those later restarts. And we had Baron Hilton and Trevor White 24th and 25th. Mike Richter and Mitchell Clark 26th and 27th.
Nick Pruitt did not make the start tonight. That's a DNS on his credit, but that rounds out the drivers that race tonight. 28 cars registered, but in the end, Bradley Holly wins again for the fourth straight time already. Bradley, welcome back to Victory Lane, my friend.
Thank you. It's great to be back in Victory Lane.
You had the car to beat all night, clean air from start to finish. How did it feel being that strong of a race car here tonight?
It felt great. I mean, as long as I kept my car out front, I knew I was going to be hard to beat.
I was going to say, how difficult was it to keep that pace up with some of that clean... You were looking good in the clean air, but as the race continued on, it seemed everyone behind you got more and more comfortable on that mid-run to keep within your pace.
Yeah, it seemed like what I noticed is everybody was keeping my pace in 1 and 2, but 3 on the exit of 4s where I was gaining a lot of my time the longer the run went.
What was the most difficult thing in your opinion as this race continued to unfold? Because it looked like you were comfortable, but what was difficult for you as this race continued?
I'm sure it was pretty much the same as everybody, but just keeping it off the wall on the exits. The way this track throws you at the wall, or can, it's just trying to keep that mindset is don't overdrive the center of the corner to the exit.
Now, of course, you continue to grow your championship lead, but you'll also take that 4-race winning streak to start the campaign to Talladega next week. Your thoughts heading into Talladega Superspeedway, where the big one can happen at any time?
Oh, it's Talladega. Anything can happen there. I mean, just like everybody in the Monster Cup Energy series, they 50-50 thing. You can either get caught up in a wreck or finish the race. My goal next week is just to try to keep my nose clean and be there at the end for another win.
Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go for being a part of your 4th win on the Cup Series schedule?
Definitely want to thank you guys at GSRC for broadcasting us and putting on a great show, and all the Waterbeck guys for practicing and trying to figure out what the best setup, or not setups, but best strategies and all that stuff for each race.
Thank you very much for the time. Congratulations on win number 4 of Season 4, Bradley.
Thank you very much.
That was Bradley Holly coming away with the 4th victory in a row to start the season. Standing by with their second place finisher is Paul M. Johnson, is Christian Challoner.
Well, another great run tonight. You came from 10th to finish 2nd, and it looked like at the end you could have really challenged for that win. We saw you came off a pit road, and it was so close to you having the lead. But still, you did a great job on the restarts to kind of have a chance at him. Do you think if you'd have got one more restart, you might have been able to take the win?
Yeah, possibly. it's just really tough on the outside restarting. He just gets the run. He gets the jump really good on the bottom, and it's hard to keep the tire spin to a minimum on the outside. And I'm so frustrated with myself. I could have went a little bit faster off of pit road and probably got him, and then held the lead. But it happens. It's racing. Second place finish. So it's almost as good as a win because I didn't expect I would be doing this well. But it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest and say, just looking at your practice and qualifying pace, you look like you kind of weren't really there on the one lap speed, but then in the race, you were really, really strong. It looked like you were one of the few guys who were able to make effective passes. And can you tell us a bit about kind of how you did that and how hard it was to pass tonight?
Yeah, when you get behind someone, like I was behind Bradley for a few laps. It's just like you're hitting a wall, and the nose just wants to push all the way to the outside wall and exit, like he was saying in his interview. But yeah, it's really tough to pass. I was trying to back up the corners, mostly in going into 3, so I can get a downward turn to basically get a run off of 4, and try to get my nose under people. Because once you get your nose under them, they kind of have to give you room. Otherwise, if they pinch you down, they're going to risk getting spun out. But yeah, it's a tough all day to pass. Pit stops were good though. I'm made up a lot of time on pit stops, a couple of positions all day, but yeah, overall a good day.
Well, you mean you did a great job of the passing, and it did really look like you executed the race perfectly from my perspective. You were really smart in your overtakes, and you took advantage when other people were fighting. And do you think that gives you an advantage now going into the next round at Talladega? That kind of way that you race and how you kind of just sort of work the lines like you did tonight. Do you think that's going to work in your favor at Talladega?
Yeah, it's just a big, slot machine at Talladega. It's just you never know what's going to happen. My teammate should be there at Talladega, so we're hoping to work together and see what we can do. He's pretty good at super speedway races, so looking to learn a little bit from him on what line to take and follow him throughout the race, see what we can make happen. But yeah, it's just really tough to pass at Dover. I wish it was a little easier, but with the package, it is what it is. When you get behind someone, it's really hard. I was just trying on the restarts all day to just try to make up as much as I can. Because if you lose ground on someone, you're going to be stuck behind them until either the next caution comes out or pit stops happen. So
yeah, that's exactly what we were seeing, and that's really kind of where I'm saying that you just did a really smart race, and you stayed out of that. And once again, man, I mean, great job on coming home second. I know you felt like maybe the win was potentially there, but still a really great result. And before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my team, Zero Racing. We're still new to this league this year, and so far doing pretty well. Club Bushido, our primary sponsor, they're a big help, and just glad to be in the series. Thank the series organizers. It's so far been a very, very good series. We had a rough one at Richmond, but I'm hoping to keep the momentum going through Talladega and maybe pull up a win. Who knows? You never know with that place.
Once again, man, a great job tonight, and we'll let you go now. And thank you for coming and chatting with us.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for the broadcast again. It's always good rewatching the broadcast, seeing what we can learn for next week. Thanks.
That was Paul M. Johnson coming away second tonight. The man who came away in third in the race was Rob Haynes. Rob, how do you feel about how your race went tonight?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, Justin. Thanks for having me on, man. Yeah, just keeping the car clean tonight was, I think, key. And battling Brad there, that just his bumper just kept getting further away from me. I didn't have anything for him, but those restarts got a little bit tricky at times, and managed to bring her home third. And I think I'm happy with that tonight, man.
How so in terms of the trickiness on the restarts? Was it the wheel spin or was it the timing? What was the trickiness in your opinion to get the good restarts to try and keep up with Holly?
Yeah, second gear here was tricky. It had no guts once you put your foot to the floor, but once it actually connected, the wheels would spin. So it was a balance you had to find, and I think everybody had the wheel spin. It was just bit of a balance, trying to make sure you didn't get too much wheel spin. So it seemed like it dragged when you first put your foot down, but then it went, and so that was a bit tough. And always going into one here is a little bit tricky, especially on fresh tires.
It seemed though you were getting stronger and stronger as the race went on. You and Johnson, in fact, to keep up with Holly. What were you trying to do to keep him a bit more closer each time we got a restart?
Yeah, I'm sure you guys seen it on the broadcast. I was trying different lines. The low line here, just hugging that seam, is where I'm comfortable, and occasionally you catch it and you just kind of recover. But that seems to be the fast way around for me. I tried entering a little bit high on both ends, and I just couldn't pick up speed. I was losing time when I did that, so I stuck with what I knew and just did what I could to stay ahead of the guys that were behind me and behind Brad.
Now, next race, it's going to be a tricky one. They're going towards the midway point of the season with an event at Talladega. Your thoughts going to Talladega Super Speedway?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, Justin. That's always fun. I mean, I'm in the points here, but I missed a race. I guess we do have a drop week, but we'll see how that goes. My work schedule can get a bit tricky, but I'm gonna. I think I'll be at Talladega for sure. And I mean, it's surviving to the end. I mean, you guys know that, and yeah, staying up front. I think I'm going to shoot for the front at Talladega, get a good qualifying lap, and not get caught up in some mess back in the field.
Going to the front, as some people may say, looks like that's what your goal is there. Now, before we let you go, is there anyone you want to thank for being a part of your top 3 performance this evening?
Yeah, of course. The fans who are watching, appreciate. I mean, all this is about you and everybody watching. So GSRC, thanks for you guys putting on the broadcast. That's so everybody can watch. We love it. And PRL, thanks for what they do and all the racing they put up. We have fun group of guys here and have a good time. Thanks to Whataback Racing, and congrats out to Brad, and good run for the 17 there, Paul. And I know he had a good run. So yeah, shout out to Brendan Chatley too. I know I'm running ETC on the car. I'm kind of running, I don't know, unsponsorless, I guess, at this point. But Brendan's let me keep ETC on the front hood there, and I appreciate that.
Congratulations, Rob, on the top 3 finish this evening once again.
Thanks, guys.
That was Rob Haynes coming away 3rd tonight here at Dover International Speedway. Now, one quick thing to note before we say goodbye and have our final thoughts here. Next weekend is the Major Series. Next time we'll be broadcasting the PRL Cup Series. Will be at Kansas on the 20th. Your thoughts heading into the midway portion of the season, Christian?
I mean, it looks like Holly's got it really on lock. He's not been headed at all this season. I mean, it's going to be so hard to beat him. He's going to have almost a full race advantage in points now. And yeah, there's Talladega, which might kind of throw a spanner in the works of that. But I don't really see his form changing throughout the season. And I think he's doing an exceptional job. And yeah, he really can't do any better than he's doing.
4 straight victories to start the campaign, and he led all 108 laps tonight to add to his season-high total. But it's time to say goodbye, but first we'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's exciting action from Dover International Speedway. We'd like to also thank PRL for organizing this very strong and competitive series. Also like to say thanks to the companies that provide our software and hardware for our broadcast listed up on your screen now, with additional thanks to Jude Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of our great work. Thanks to the team today, once again, at Christian and Sean. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel in one word, and on Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head over to our YouTube page as well and hit that big red subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so you don't miss a moment here on the Global SimRacing Channel. As noted, next race on the schedule broadcasted on GSRC will be at Kansas on October the 20th. You can see that cover starting at 8:50 p.m. Eastern Time, once again for what should be an exciting race. We also have some upcoming races for other series listed up on the screen, including the major series this upcoming weekend. Be sure to check those up and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.